Welcome back to the Prepare Like a Pro live chat show. This is our weekly update where I'll be updating you on all things to do with our podcast, our program, and as well as our weekly blog post, which this week's a guest blog post, which is a new segment that we've been doing on a monthly basis where a guest practitioner will share some of their insights in strength and conditioning, high performance sport, either from an athlete's perspective or from a coach's perspective. And this month is with Kelvin Giles. But we're just going to quickly go through some exciting opportunities and also announcements for some new coaches joining our team. So firstly, for opportunities, we have 3 available junior coaching roles at a local football club. So we've got one with the Upwey men's strength and conditioning role with Upwey Tacoma senior men's program. And then we've got 2, a recent signing. We signed on Knox Football Club, Melbourne-based local club playing Australian rules football, and they're looking for a junior coach for their men's program as well as their senior women's program. So if that interests you, I'm pretty eager to sign up and find that right person as quickly as possible. So if you're interested, please email me at jack@preparelikeapro.com as I mentioned, eager to get someone on board in that program as quickly as possible, but also want to find the right fit as well for the club. So if you're interested, email me, jack@preparelikeapro.com, and we'll have a quick chat. I'm going to shortlist down to 2 to 3 coaches of who I think is most qualified and the best fit for the club to represent Prepare Like a Pro. And then the club, either president or head coach of either program, will catch up with that practitioner or have a chat over the phone and make the final decision. So we're looking to sign that person up by middle of November. This podcast is released on the 13th, so I'm going to give everyone a week to get your submissions through, and really looking forward to finalising our team for Prepare Like a Pro. In terms of exciting announcements, we've got a few coaches. So junior coach Jordan Love, who looked after our Corfu Grammarians women's program last year, has upgraded from junior coach to now a strength and conditioning coach. So he's taking on private athletes out of a clinic called the Sports Clinic. So if you're interested in working with Geordie, that's in Paran. You can do field-based coaching with him, as well as he's looking after our Prepare Like a Pro athletes in the gym. So if you're interested, let us know, direct message us on any of our socials or email me at jack@preparelikeapro. James Wolfenton, who's also located in Paran, he works out of a space called Edge Training. It's 24/7 gym affiliated with Iron Edge, one of the best facilities in not only Melbourne, but probably in the country. So if you're interested in training with James, who's a great coach, he's working at Carlton Football Club at the moment. I was lucky enough to work with both James and Geordie Love at Edge Training last year, and absolutely pumped to have them on board our team. So like with Geordie Love, James is also taking on Prepare Like a Pro athletes, both on field-based coaching as well as gym-based training. And of course, for any athletes around the interstate that don't have access to those facilities, you can work with James on a Zoom coaching call basis. And our final sign-on from a strength and conditioning point of view is Caleb Morgan. He's got a great background at Western Bulldogs, where he's had an awesome pedigree across and working their VFL women's program as men's, and also been involved in the AFL men's program. So super pumped to have Caleb on board our team, and he'll be looking after our athletes that are based out of the western suburbs of Melbourne. So like James and Geordie, Caleb's doing coaching on the field, and he's currently also doing coaching out of Victoria University in Footscray for one-on-one basis in the gym. So if you want to improve your technique both on the field and in the gym, make sure to hit us up to work with any of these coaches, as well as any of our coaches' bios. You can head over to preparelikeapro.com, where you can find some more information about our coaches. I'm currently not working with anyone in a private setting, so I'm looking to work closely with the coaching team and then focus mainly on the academy from an education point of view and the program this year. So really excited to broaden our ability to engage more athletes on the coaching side of things. And then in terms of the Corfu Grammarians program, we've got Brianna McGrath. She's joined on and to take over the program now that Geordie Love's working over in a private setting. So Brianna will be looking after that program for season 2023. She's got a great background in rehabilitation. She's an exercise physiologist, so really excited to have Brianna on to look after our Corfu Grammarians women's program, which is a really strong competitive program. So looking forward to seeing what the girls can do this year under Brianna's eyes. And then we've got Vaughan Tristan, who will be looking after our senior strength conditioning program, taking over from Nicholas Rule, who's also an exercise physiologist, who looked after the program in the season 2022. So super pumped to have Vaughan on. I actually did my Bachelor of Sports Science at Victoria University, did a few units with Vaughan. He's a ripping fella. I'm looking forward to seeing the results that the Corfu Grammarians are going to get. They've got a new coach after Simon Williams has had one of the best stints in Corfu Grammarian history well over the last 6 years, taking the reins there. He's now focused more on a director role, and they're bringing in a new head coach. So looking forward to seeing what the program can do with Vaughan assisting in the strength and conditioning space. So super excited to have these practitioners join our Propellica program. As I mentioned, if you're interested in joining either our junior coaching role, looking after a local football club, we've got 3 opportunities at the moment in Melbourne. If you're a football coach, president, and you think that our coaching program could fit your football program, make sure to reach out with us. You don't have to have a coach, even if you just want the program. So warm-up, prescription, strength, as well as conditioning, that is an option. So if you're interested, I'm happy to jump on a call and explain the different tiers that we have for local football clubs. We've got one that suits all budgets. Understanding I've worked at the local level before, that money isn't something that footy clubs have a lot of. So I've created a system that works quite well in delivering a high standard of a program and gives the coaches a bit of a chop out so they can focus on the technical side, and gives the athletes great value by having a strength and conditioning program on our app to follow, as well as a guide for their training load over a pre-season and how to maintain and keep developing their strength and power in the gym throughout in season, so they're fit and firing come finals time. If that interests you, you can give me a call on 0402 55 4434, as we'll be finalising all our commitments over the next 2 weeks. So as December turns around, we'll be no longer taking on any new football clubs. I've got a favour to ask any listeners of the podcast. I'll be looking to organise some collaborative events, and I've listed 4 different topics that I'd like to host, and they are a combat, so working with either rugby experienced or Taekwondo, MMA, anyone that's come from a wrestling background that have worked in elite sports. So hosting some practitioners that have worked in rugby and mainly Australian rules football from a combat point of view. So they're roles that were quite popular before COVID. Unfortunately, due to football departments being reduced since the pandemic, they haven't been able to finance these type of roles. So no doubt they're coming back over the next couple of years. So I thought it'd be a good time to share the skill sets of those coaches in Melbourne. So that's the topic I'm pretty eager to book in. Velocity-based training, hot topic has been for the last few years. So if you're interested in velocity-based training, you think that would be a good collaborative event to do, let me know. Tempo versus maximal aerobic speed prescription seems to be a pretty hot topic at the moment. So that's a collaborative event that I'd be pretty eager to host. And then the coordinative-based movements. So Franz Bosch and his team are coming here at the end of the year, and I'd love to have a few of his practitioners on to discuss how coordinative-based movements can assist the traditional strength and conditioning program for field-based athletes. So let me know either through our socials or via email which of those 4 that you'd be most interested in listening to. And I'll do my best to reach out to guests that specialise in those areas and book it in for December. And then as they're all hot topics, I'll fit in the next 3 for next year from February onwards. Okay, let's get into this week's update and our key topic, which is a guide for those that want to work out how to climb the ladder in Australian rules football and work as a full-time staff member. Excuse my voice today. Hay fever has hit me hard, as it seems to hit a lot of people in Melbourne. So voice may sound a little bit different in the podcast, and sorry about that. But to get straight into this topic, there's been a few questions over our Instagram. So I'm just going to post those questions up. Okay, so first one, any tips for those looking to work in the AFL? So non-negotiables that I've noticed, and certainly this was a goal of mine over the last sort of 6-7 years, and I've been lucky enough to work my way up into getting 2 full-time roles in AFL across 2 different footy clubs. So during that process, I've worked under some great practitioners, and everyone's got pretty similar non-negotiables that they're almost like your ticket to the dance. So if you haven't got these covered, you don't even have a ticket to the dance, for example. So non-negotiables are, from what I've noticed, seem to be a Bachelor of a Human Movement or Sports Science degree. That would be a non-negotiable. It's getting close to probably being a non-negotiable being a master's. And I'm sure it's not going to be too far away where hopefully not, this is not the case, but seems to be more and more people taking on PhDs. And as we know, there's only so many jobs in this industry, and the best of the best are only the ones that are lucky enough to land a full-time role. So it's getting more and more competitive every year. So make sure that you get the non-negotiables covered, and that's certainly your education. So minimum, you need to have your Bachelor of Sports Science. For those that have just got the certificate 3 and 4, make sure you enroll in a degree. You need to have an in. So by an in, I mean, if you're applying for an internship at university, that is also going to be super competitive. So make sure you have really good grades to make sure that so you stand out and you're able to get those those internship roles at elite clubs. And also, it doesn't hurt to have strong relationships for those making those decisions. So your lecturers, tutors, as well as any relationships you can foster during your studies that are working in elite sport. That is an absolute must and pays dividends. Something that I'm noticing every year, how valuable it is to have people that you can lean on and trusted practitioners that have walked the walk, so to speak, so you can learn off them and develop good habits as you're in that student mindset and development phase of your program. You need to have a well-rounded experience. So this is one of the questions that came through here, and what I've done is I've just posted these questions on Instagram just because it's easy to read. So from an experience point of view, make sure if you're doing an internship that you're quite proactive and you're engaged with the performance analyst, you're engaged with the sports scientist in that program, and you're engaged with strength and conditioning staff, not just in the gym and on the field, but also rehabilitation, as you never know what role you might undertake in a full-time basis. So being well-rounded is going to improve your employability down the track. So that real generalist versus specialist role, absolutely be a generalist early on in your craft, as that's going to allow you to have empathy for different positions when you're a leader, which will allow you to be a greater leader for those working under you long term. But in the interim, the more skill sets that you have for a football club, the better and more likelihood you are to land a role. So definitely don't specialize too early. Experience as much as you can early on. And definitely find the balance between doing a good job as well, of course, make an impact, as that's going to pay dividends in terms of those noticing the work that you do. So don't stretch yourself too thin where you're not doing anything well. Find that balance between owning a particular area, and then once you feel you're starting to get comfortable with that particular topic, whether it be strength and power work in the gym, start to delve your knowledge in the GPS side of things, or if you're competent with the sports science side of things, start to look at how an analyst, performance analyst works. So experiencing as many of the different roles that are in a footy club as possible early on. And the last one, this one's been quite a popular one for those practitioners that have had a lot of experience, well over 20 years in the industry, that I've been lucky enough to have on the podcast. They've talked about how important it is to lead a program. So whether that be from any level, junior, under 13s, to a senior program, men or women, and of course your talent pathways like NAB League. So any program that you can lead is going to really allow you to develop what necessary skills in not just the strength and conditioning prescription from a programming point of view, because you'll be doing it all from warm-ups to the gym, if there is access to a gym, and field-based. So your programming will need to be up to scratch, but also your ability to build relationships with other staff members and recognize pretty early on that it's not just a strength and conditioning program, it's actually a football program, and there's many people that are involved with that. So how can you assist other areas of the program to make sure that the program for the athletes is the best that it can possibly be. And sometimes that actually means doing less strength and conditioning or shorter warm-ups or shorter conditioning work, so the athletes can get more touches of the football. So that's just an example, but there's many different ways. So being able to lead a program, be the only person at that football club, hence why we have our junior football club programs with local football clubs, because I'm a big believer that running a program early on in your career is one of the best things you can do for those that want to work in elite sport. So that's some of the key topics. If anyone that's on Instagram that's got any questions, how much do S&Cs make? Good question. It's definitely changed over since COVID, but more or less an assistant S&C would be anywhere between 70 and probably 80K at tops, including of super. I would say a strength and power coach would be anywhere between 90 and maybe 150 at the top end for those that have been in the game for a long time. Rehab practitioners anywhere between 80 and 110 perhaps, and high performance managers anywhere from that sort of 150 to apparently 500K. But yeah, I'm not sure, I'm guessing there, but they're definitely the leader in the departments. They're getting the most as they've got the biggest responsibility. That's from an AFL strength and conditioning point of view. From a medical point of view, I'm not across how the head physio and physiotherapists are typically paid, but there's ranges due to the skill sets you have and the experience and value that you bring to a program. That gives you a bit of an idea of the different roles that you can take on. Next one, most important skills and qualities. I would say making sure that you are well-rounded, like I mentioned earlier before. So you've got a basic understanding of GPS, you've got a basic understanding of how to engage a group. So with your briefing before they're about to do a warm-up or a gym session or a field-based session, you can present well and engage a large group of 30 to 50 athletes. Obviously your technical ability, so your coaching eye to be able to provide quick and sound feedback that's clear and easy to understand from the athlete's perspective. And then your programming as well. So being able to plan ahead, but also be flexible enough to be able to adjust the plan to suit the athletes and where they currently are and what they're about to face that week and what they've gone through. So the ability to be agile in your planning. So that'd be some key ones. You'll also commonly hear how important it is to be a good person. So make sure that you're well trusted, you're respected, and you practice what you preach goes a long way. Next one, experiences that are required. Experiences never hurt. So the more experiences you can have relevant to a role will definitely pay dividends when it comes to an interview, as those on an interview panel, which I've been on both sides, definitely find that when someone's talking from experience and they've got stories to share relevant to the question that's been asked, definitely much more impactful and takes notice compared to someone who's just talking their philosophy without any stories to back it up. So the more experiences, both good and bad, and how you handle those, the better you'll become an interview, but also the more networks that you're going to build that are going to be relevant, as you never know when you'll next work with someone. So you might currently be working with a coach at a local level, and then they might move to a head coach role at an AB league or a VFL club, and they want to bring you in as a strength and conditioning coach. So making sure that the more experiences you can accrue while you're studying and developing your craft, the better, for sure. What educational requirements? I mentioned that a little bit earlier, so make sure to tune in to either YouTube, or this will be released on Monday in our podcast. And here's the last one. Any tips for AFL strength and conditioning coaches? Outside of what we've discussed, I would say get exposed to different environments. So something that I've definitely found value in is if I want to learn how to be able to hold the mitts, for example, for boxing, which can be helpful for a cross-training stimulus for either those that need to reduce body fat, or for those that are in rehabilitation, they need off-feet feet conditioning. It's much more engaging than riding on a bike, for example. So it's a good skill set to have. Working one-on-one with a really elite boxing coach was hugely valuable for me. I did that for about 6 months after doing Dave Bridgman's his name, after doing his workshop. And I found now it's a skill that I never forget. I can, tap into that skill set, which helps from one-on-one setting for those athletes, footballers that love boxing. When you're working the lower levels, try and get your hands on with your GPS and getting used to the basics, like how to turn them on, how to download the data, how to create into a report, how to analyze it, and then how to build a report that's really easy for the athletes to understand, and ultimately engage them in how that's going to help their preparation for football. From a gym perspective, doing courses like the AWF weightlifting course from a power point of view, doing the ASCA courses from an energy system development point of view, management leadership point of view, and strength conditioning prescription. So ASCA workshops are hugely valuable. So making sure that you can build up as many skill sets as you can. For instance, something that I'm eager to do over this off season is work with a combat coach learning wrestling to be able to help athletes transfer their strength in the gym to more field-like positions on the field. So, you might want to work on your running technical advice and tips and coaching eye. So working with a track coach could be an example that a coach could do. Put yourself in those environments so you know how it feels from an athlete's perspective, but also you know what cues are, and you've got more tools in your toolbox to be able to refer to in all these different situations you can find yourself in Australian rules football. That's it for this week's topic. It's a great one. If you've got any further up questions or queries, those Academy members, hit us up in the discussion forum. Thanks for sending in your questions this week as well. And for those that aren't on the Academy, you can join our Academy. It's $20 a month. Both we have one for coaches as well as one for footballers, and you get access to every presentation I've done over the last couple of years, as well as special guests that come on for workshops in the Academy membership. So if that interests you, head over to Academy, preparelikeaproacademy.com.au. We'll move into a new segment, which is what I wish I knew 10 years ago, and that is the value of working alongside or under someone. So the best learning that comes from me, and where I'll definitely lean on, is when I'm working with a practitioner who's got a huge amount of experience in elite sport. So that's something that I wish I did a lot earlier. I spent the first 7 years of my career working solely for myself, which was great. You build good rapport with people, good business skills. But from a strength and conditioning point of view, I think developing your methods and developing good habits, I wish I started working with and working under coaches a lot earlier in my career. Okay, and then an update for this week, we have Kelvin Giles, as I mentioned, his blog post on an athlete development model. So make sure to check that out for our November monthly blog post. This week's podcast, we have Nick Kane, the head physiotherapist at SM Football Club, on at 4:30 p.m. Our interview with Tyson Popplestein will be published on our podcast on Wednesday. And on Sunday, our bite-sized episode with Ben Parker, the dietitian of the Gold Coast Suns, will be released. So if you're interested in developing your nutrition to either gain muscle mass, maintain your body weight and work on recovery, optimize recovery, or you want to reduce your body fat, Ben provides a huge amount of practical tips around recipes and his methods with the Gold Coast Suns athlete. So make sure to tune in this Sunday. And if you like the bite size, and listen to the whole episode. And then we've got our power tip this week, really simple one for anyone that listens to podcasts, which you can listen to this in the podcasting world. A tip that was provided to me that's massively increased efficiency of listening to podcasts is changing the setting to 1.2 times. For some that have been doing that for a while, they've actually upgraded that to 1.5 in terms of how far the speed that you listen to that content. 1.2 I find is the sweet spot where I can still obviously understand what they're saying. 1.5 I find is way too fast, and it seems to turn the words to gibberish for my listening at this time. But hopefully in a year's time, maybe I can find it coherent at 1.5 times. But if you're listening to podcasts at one time, try it at 1.2 and see how it goes. I think it's a massive time saver, and it's actually a lot more engaging by speeding up the audio. So have a go. Let me know what you think. And for anyone interested in joining our strength and conditioning program, make sure to head over to preparelikeapro.com, where you have a free 14-day trial. I'll see you guys on the next Prepare Like a Pro live chat show.